back to the Solitary Practice Podcast. It may be freezing outside, but things have still been busy. I'm currently running 6 additional works to what I normally have going at any one time. It is a busy season. There is a lot of sickness. There's a lot of illness. The prolonged cold temperatures have resulted in a number of things just deciding, this might be a really great time to die, or stop eating, or in some way express their extreme disapproval of the extended, well below zero weather that we're experiencing. So they're keeping me very busy. And out of all the things I could be talking about today, I think what I'm going to actually talk about is protections on vehicles, which may seem a little strange, but it's been on my mind recently as I'm wrapping up one of those works and then having to basically redeploy it again. So there are any number of ways to magically protect a vehicle. If you want to put some protections on one, you can do whatever suits your practice. But this is just going to be a quick look into what I do for ours. And the first thing I do is not do anything. I get to know the vehicle a bit. I kind of let its presence start to mesh with the household, so to speak. I kind of want to know, how does it work? Who prefers to drive it? What are we using it for? What kind of things is it more suitable than others? Where's its flaws? I like to give it a little bit of time to kind of just get up and running and integrate into the family and the household and to see how this vehicle is going to basically fit in with everything else around here. I wouldn't approach a pickup truck the same way I would like a sports car. Anybody who's spent some time behind the wheel, you kind of know that every vehicle has its own little personality and quirks. I know they're inanimate objects, they've still got them. And I like to have a feel for those first before I start doing anything with it. So the best thing I can tell you is not to do anything. That doesn't apply just to vehicles, that applies to pretty much everything. Your best first step is not to do anything. After that, we're going to call it the evaluation period. So after the evaluation period, from there, I start taking my energy, or maybe presence is a better word, and I use it to get to know the vehicle. Is it an inanimate object? Yes. But so is your wand, so is a chalice, so is an altar. It's the same premise. And then from there, I start to express my expectations. And by expectations, I do not mean that I am telling this vehicle no accidents or anything that's kind of absolute and along those lines. You really need to be realistic with what the vehicle can actually do and be responsible for. So the vehicle itself cannot guarantee that there will be no accidents. So you putting I'm going to call it a protection, but you can call it whatever you want, on this vehicle saying that there will be no accidents. It's basically setting yourself up for failure because there's going to be an accident in some form or another. The vehicle has no way to guarantee or to actually ensure that that does not happen. Basically, maybe the vehicle didn't do it. Maybe some foolish person ran a red light and hit your car. The vehicle can't necessarily stop that per se. You can't really expect anything that's absolute, like a no accidents, never any mechanical breakdowns. Anything absolute like that is just setting yourself up for failure. What you want to do is focus on things the vehicle can do. What is in its control? So you can enhance traction, maybe fuel efficiency within its ability to be more efficient. Never having an accident, never breaking down, they are just not within the realm of a vehicle's control. You can't control it. I would be willing to bet money that probably everybody listening to this cannot guarantee that if they put a protection on a vehicle, it will never have an accident in any form. If you can't do it, an inanimate object is not going to do it. So let's not set ourselves up for failure. In its most very basic format, I want my vehicles to try hard, be efficient, and be protective, but to minimize costs. And above all else, I want both the car and the occupants to be safe. And that might kind of seem a little bit general and very non-specific, which in a lot of cases we try to avoid with magical work. Like normally we try to lace it in and really detail it out and make it very particular and fine and close those loopholes. And I'm doing pretty much exactly the opposite here. It's kind of a fine line. this isn't just like a magical work per se. It's more of a magical instruction or a guide more than anything. And I try to place value on the expectations based on the actual individual vehicle. So, for instance, I do not place as much emphasis on being fuel efficient on a vehicle that already is. I might emphasize agility or stability instead, or a truck doesn't really need talking to about towing capacity as much as it does fuel efficiency. You want to kind of tailor your expectations to the vehicle, capitalize on things that it might be able to work with you on and would actually be productive and helpful for you. About the only thing I do actively do is place a little bit of a compulsion on the vehicle to make things not want to touch it. Again, that's kind of broad, and it's also, I don't make it particularly strong, but I do like, basically as a deterrent. I like it to kind of make things not want to touch it. And I'll give you an example in a little bit about why that can be handy. So once I get the guide or guidelines in place, I like to incentivize the vehicles to assist with, or, if possible, they do the work themselves. And to do that, I kind of do things that will make the vehicle more inclined to be useful. I stay on top of maintenance, make sure that the vehicles are completely cleaned out. Everything is, wash it regularly, clean it out, vacuum it, clean the windows, air filters, brakes, tires, rotors, everything. Just good maintenance. If you're taking care of it, it's more likely to take care of you, or at least care more about you, because you're the one that is, providing everything for you. And so far that seems to work quite well. Now we can argue about whether or not the inanimate object cares about whether or not you do maintenance, and that's fine. But for me, I guess one of the things that I was taught young is if you take care of the land takes care of you, and that's just kind of transferred over to everything else I practice in. So it's a habit. It's not a bad habit, but it is my habit. So on to the example. A few weeks ago, my husband was traveling home from work. It's dark. It's cold. There's no cell service up here. The snowbanks are way over the tops of the cars at this point. And so he's traveling home, long stretch of road. Deer jumps over the bank and into the roadway in front of the car. It's unavoidable that we're going to hit this deer. But he's able to slow down, and quite frankly, that deer doesn't want to touch the car because compulsion is there. I mean, obviously it doesn't want to be hit by the car either, but it certainly doesn't hurt to incentivize this thing to start scrambling to get out of the way. And in the end, he's able to slow down to almost a stop. The deer walked away without a single injury. The car, completely drivable. Is it pulled out? Yes. So, there's a lot of plastic in cars these days, so we've got some cracked plastic and a little damage to the trim, but nothing requiring assistance, nothing stranding him out there in the middle of nowhere. The deer is perfectly fine. He can drive home. And that's pretty much what happened. It was surprising. It scared him. I can't say he wasn't warned, but that was a totally different can of worms. And so long story short, he just drove home. No further incident. Car made it there just fine. We went out, had a look at it. Was it pretty? No. But yay, deer is okay. That would have been terrible if anything happened to the deer. And quite frankly, car is fixable. So continued to drive it. No impact on our day-to-day life. Made an appointment, took it in. It's being repaired. The estimate and everything was much lower than I expected, so very happy with that. Pretty much the most painful part of it was just coordinating everything. As far as I'm concerned, the inconvenience is worth it, because the car did exactly what I want it to do in a what could be dangerous situation. And that's what I'm looking for in my vehicles. I want them to protect the driver, sustain only mild injuries. I don't want anybody hurt. And I guess I should qualify that, like, I specifically don't want any of the family members driving hurt, but I literally don't want anybody hurt if I can avoid it. And the car did a great job at managing that. That entire premise can be pretty much applied to anything. Once you kind of establish the process and you've done it enough to get consistent with it, it doesn't have to be just vehicles. You could apply that kind of work to pretty much anything that you wanted to. Personal style has a lot of influence on works like this. So while I approach the vehicle in more of a expectation setting kind of manner, somebody else might do it in a different manner. Basically, as long as it works for you, it really doesn't matter too much how you approach it, as long as you can get it to actually do what you want it to do. More important than all of that, though, is the ability to recognize that, well, a lot of people will try to force things to happen through brute force or strength of will when they work. Those efforts nearly always end up not working and having inconsistent or minimal results. It's kind of a hodgepodge. It's not dependable. I always find it better to take a look at what the possibilities are, then run out the possible futures based on all of those potential possibilities. And yes, that can get kind of tangly because a lot of them will overlap and intertwine, but you've got to run them all out. And then basically try to situate yourself for the best possible outcome. I do that for pretty much everything, not just vehicles. But if you're always trying to force your will on things, you're going to get exhausted. Those kind of works are short term and usually kind of desperate measures. If you're trying to brute force something, it's like trying to stop the tide instead of finding a way to make that tide work for you. So you want awareness, preparedness, and some critical thought. And that can have a bigger impact on your practice than all of the assistance anything you might go and ask could possibly offer you. Not to mention the benefits of, deeper understanding of the energies that are surrounding you, how they work, time, space, the universe, all that fun stuff. So you really want to try to position yourself for success. You can't always just try to do a spell to fix whatever. If you're doing short-term brute force, make it happen work, it should only be done like in extreme emergency situations, and generally those should be pretty avoidable if you're even halfway decent about kind of running out the possibilities and the different futures. But if you're doing those, A, they're exhausting. B, they're not dependable. It's kind of like a hope and a prayer kind of situation. And C, you haven't actually fixed the root cause. So again, it's going to happen again, and you're going to find yourself right back there. You're never going to progress and you're never going to move on because you're going to be stuck in this vicious little cycle where you're constantly trying to make something happen to fix some odd problem. Sometimes you have to do something very painful in the short term to come out better in the long term. And I'm not a fan of having to live through painful short-term things, but sometimes even I have to make kind of sacrifices. And when I say painful, I don't necessarily always mean physical pain. Sometimes you have to sit through a very trying conversation with somebody that drives you pretty much up the wall. There's all sorts of sacrifices here, but the best thing you can do is sometimes it's, forgive me, suck it up, buttercup. You just need to get through it. And in the long run, it will pay off. I'm going to stop here for today. Just, the sick bay is full. It's very, very busy. I can't guarantee I can even get maybe 5 more minutes before they interrupt me. So we're going to cut it short here today, and hopefully by next week, most of these things will have recovered and I can get them back to their normal schedule, and then I can get back to mine, which would be super. But I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. Feel free to share it with others. As always, if you have any questions or a topic you want to hear more about, you can contact me through my website, thesolitarypractice.com. And I appreciate everybody listening. Thank you again. I will see you next week.